And that's one revolution that's starting to sweep. You watch, this will be my prediction, you watch our grandchildren 50 years from now will look at us and say, people in your day used to say it was okay to do that? Just like we look back at slavery and we say, people back then used to say it was okay to lock people up for life and make them your slaves. So these things can have natural revolutions. Speaking of slavery, one just popped up. William Wilberforce in England was a senator, a congressman, a parliamentarian, they call it over there. He caused one of the greatest revolutions in the world's history, abolishing slavery in England without a drop of blood. And so yes, it can be done. How do we do it? Well, we get to educate each other, and we get to think on a level of peace, not war, because I really don't like the idea of dunging the tree of liberty with blood. I would rather dung the tree of liberty with the love of one man towards another, because I believe that that principle gets a lot further than fighting.
So you've actually reminded me of another principle, I guess, to talk about. People believe they have different sets of rights. Every person, if you ask them what their right is as a citizen of the United States, what their rights are, they'll give you a different list of things. Some people say they have a right to work. Some people say they have a right to choose whether or not to have abortion. Other people say, I have a right to property, and I have a right to have the government off of my back. And so you have these two different camps that all believe they have a fundamental right, but what those rights are differs from person to person. What is it that informs you as the origin of your rights?
Truth. The simple principle of truth. If we, as humans, will let go for a moment of all of our limiting beliefs and all of the things that we think should be correct, and take a look at truth, then we just know. And truth tells me that I have a right to life, liberty, and property. And they call it the pursuit of happiness, meaning my own pursuit of property, my own ability to obtain and control my own things without somebody else robbing me at gunpoint. And so many of the other things, you know, we hear presidents in the last 80 or 100 years start saying every man and woman in America has a right to a job, and or every man and woman has a right to health care, proper health care. And you hear these things thrown around so loosely, and you know, I sell furniture. I could say every man and woman has a right to buy a couch from me, but that's not the intent of why we're here on this earth. I truly believe that we are here because of and for the principle of agency. And in fact, I'll take away the word believe. I know that. We're here because of agency. And we have the right to choose how to live our lives. Without agency, we can't learn. We can't grow. And that's why we're here.
Opponents of this view would say truth, to me, is truth is a relative thing, is what they would say. And they would say, my agency is to kill this child inside of me, or to kill this fetus inside of me, as they would say. So how do you know that your truth, or what do you, how can you tell everybody else that your truth is greater than theirs?
There's a, now here's the, you bring up the, I have a right to kill that person. Well, as soon as I have a right to kill that person, I'm taking away their rights. And so it's actually a really easy solution, and it's part of what our founders put forth for us. And that is, I have a right to life, liberty, and property so long as I don't have to take yours away in order for me to have mine. So if my right to kill that baby, or to kill that grown-up for that matter, means that I have to take away your right to live, well, then I've overstepped the bounds. Because the way to judge that, I guess the easiest way to judge that is, if we can all have it, then it's right. then it's true. But if only I can have it, if only I can have life, liberty, and property at the expense of everybody else, then truth goes out the window. There is no equity, there is no fairness, there is no truth there. So basing on the fact, and I guess you have to assume the fact, or you have to know the fact that we truly are all created equal. And if I believe that you are as great of a person as I am, which I do, then I don't have the right to take your shoes just because I think they're cool, or to kill you because it would benefit me in some way, or to lock you up and make you my slave because my business would thrive if I had 5 guys like Nick running around doing my handyman work for me. So along the concept that my rights end where your nose begins, it allows us all to live in the wonderful realm of agency, and to live and to grow and to be happy.
So in order to find this truth, what source would you recommend that citizens should look to find that? Where does this come from?
Where does this source come from? It comes from God.
So other opponents, I guess, of your viewpoint would say he is consulting God on every one of his decisions. And yet in the past, whenever rulers, leaders have consulted God, at least in their own minds, often a great amount of terror has resulted, and they've been able to justify horrible acts by saying, God told me to do it. Are you worried that, well, are people justified in worrying about you if they believe that that's where you're getting your answers?
People are always justified in questioning authority. And in this case, I'm not in a position of authority. I'm just another guy who lives around here. But I wish that all citizens would question authority the way that you just questioned what I said. If we would all say, you know, this president has told us that that group of people is evil and we've got to kill them. If we would all stop and say, whoa, 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 hold on, let me think about that for a second. The president just told us that we've got to kill people. And we, the citizens, are the government because we chose this president. We have the right to kick him out at any time. If we would stop and think, what gives us the right to kill anybody, then our decisions would be a lot more lucid. And we would have a much more peaceful society and a much freer society.
We live in a time right now, I think I read it somewhere in it was probably Time magazine. They said it's the time of the libertarian's lament. And I've seen people say that the argument is over when it comes to how big the government should be and how much regulation we should have. The people who advocate for larger government and more regulation have won. And it is not a time when the libertarians can even hold their heads high and they are defeated. I was reading a poll today in Consumer Reports that 70% of the people they polled say they wish Wall Street would be more regulated. 72% of the people they polled say they wish banks would be more regulated than they are now. And they say that the monster who got us into this economic mess that we're in right now, they believe it's an economic mess, is lack of regulation and libertarian ideals at the base of a lot of the government actions in the last 20 years. And they say, how can people advocate for less regulation when it seems that that's what has gotten us into trouble? How do you respond to those people?
And that's been the most interesting argument that I've heard the last 6-8 months or so, that there are people who actually believe that it was lack of regulation that caused the downfall of our economy. It's something that libertarians and people of a free market mindset and the Austrian School of Economics are all actually laughing at that concept. The idea that we've been a free market and that's what's caused this problem. Because we've been so much the opposite of that, that's why it becomes such a laughable thing to people, to free market economists.